Welcome to Manifestation Mastery.
The first universal law is the law of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. Without the mind, there is no universe, you do not exist. Everything is a mental state. The universe itself is a giant mind containing all information and potential. Everything already exists as a state of energy and frequency. You have to just tap in with these certain frequencies, and these are what we call thoughts. When I say the mind, do not get mixed up with the brain. The brain is the physical manifestation of the mind. Everything we see physical is a manifestation of a thought. God, or the Creator, whoever you want to believe, thought everything into existence. The mental plane is the highest plane of all. This is why the mind is the root cause of all things. Before it happens on the physical plane, it happens in the mind. For example, before kicking a football, you choose in your mind you're going to kick the football. The root cause is the decision in the mind, the intellect, and the effect is you kicking the ball, which is then on the physical plane. The mind is not physical, it's a purely spiritual energy full of infinite potential. The mind is what determines your perception. One person may see something good and you may see it badly. It's all a state of perception, a state of mind. The mind is the director of energy and it charges energy positively or negatively. You need to be very careful of what you're entertaining thought-wise. The mind of a human contains higher faculties, which is imagination, will, intuition, memory, reason, and perception. This is what separates the man from an animal, because animals act based off instinct. They cannot identify themselves. They act purely off instinct. It's very important to work on your higher faculties and strengthen them in order to manifest. You can apply this law by disciplining the mind, only entertain good thoughts, and by being aware of where we put our time and attention, because where attention goes, energy flows. As a man thinketh, so it be. Whatever you believe will manifest, no matter what. The second law of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. The outer world is a reflection of the inner world. This world is a reflection of your internal self. Your internal self is your mental state, your thought patterns, and your emotional self. By trying to change the effect, which is the physical plane, the physical world you see, you will forever fall back to your problems and your issues. This is because the lessons have to be learned internally. You have to match the frequency inside before you can surpass any lesson or problem. This is because this reality is projected from the inside outwards, not the outside in. To apply this law, you have to act on your higher self thoughts. You have to constantly execute on the right things at all times. Another way to apply this law is by meditation, by connecting with your inner self and facing your inner demons. The third law is the law of vibration. Everything you see is vibrating. Nothing is standstill. Everything is in motion. The speed of vibration is what determines what matter state it's in. For example, solid, liquid and gas are rates of vibration, and so are thoughts. Every thought has an electrical impulse, and that electrical impulse is vibrating at a certain vibration which creates a frequency, and frequency holds information. To apply this law, you must think, feel, speak and do higher vibrational virtues. This law is the base of law of attraction, because you can only attract what you are, what vibration you're vibrating at. You never attract what you want, you can only attract what vibration you are set on. This is why they call it a mindset. You must set your mind to the frequency of the reality you want. You must think, feel, speak and act as if that manifestation has already occurred, and this will put out an electromagnetic vibration into the quantum field. The fourth law, the law of polarity. Everything in this reality is the yin and yang. Everything has two poles. This is what we call duality, love and hate, attraction, disconnection. Even though there are two sides of every opposing force, everything is all one. For example, hot and cold are the same substance but different degrees. It all goes back to the one substance. This is how the universe balances out every scenario and every piece of energy. Everything has the equal and opposite reaction and opposite force against it. Applying this law is fairly easy. If you are unhappy with your current situation, for example being inside of a 9-to-5 job, you must first correct your underlying limiting beliefs and then use all of that energy on the opposing force to get you out of that current situation. The next law is the law of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. Everything has its cycles, for example the menstrual cycle or your thought patterns. These are all cycles within this creation. This is due to the way energy moves throughout the toroidal field. You can apply this law by doing good habits and positive daily routines, which will take you to your goals. The law of cause and effect is definitely one of the most important laws. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. For example, throwing a bowling ball down the alleyway will hit the pins. The cause was the mind where it made the decision to throw the ball, and the effect was the pins falling over. The mind is the root cause of everything, the spiritual, the unseen, and then it manifests on the physical plane. If you forever create good causes, you will forever have good effects. For example, by going to the gym every day, you will build muscle. This is why it's so important to control and discipline the mind in order to create the constant good causes to create the good effects. Once and for all, the last law, the law of gender. Gender is in everything and it manifests on all planes of existence. Masculine and feminine principles are in everything. Masculine being the electric and penetrating force, and feminine being the magnetic force. This manifests in everything in nature, plants, animals and humans, and even in the spiritual planes, because your mind consists of a conscious and subconscious, which is male and female. To apply this law, you want to balance the two, masculine and feminine, left and right hemispheres of your brain. Another way is by balancing your spiritual higher self with your physical ego self. If you let the ego get control of your life, it will destroy your life because the ego is constantly desiring negative things.